Hello everyone, and as always, welcome back to my channel. Or if it's your first time, welcome to my channel. My name is Marlene and I talk about eating disorder recovery and everything related to healing the relationship with your own body, with food, and with movement. And today we're going to talk about how long does recovery actually last? Is it a few months? Is it a few weeks, like some coaches say? Is it maybe way longer? And also, is it normal if I've been in recovery for, let's say, 2 or 3 years and I still don't consider myself recovered? First of all, the first thing that I always start with and that I always ask my clients is, what does recovery mean for you? What is your personal definition of recovery? Because for some people, it might just mean having some kind of damage control. It might mean, okay, I'm going to be able to eat more. I'm going to be able to eat enough for my body. I'm going to be able to hold myself back from exercise if that was an issue. I'm going to be able to sustain from eating disorder behaviors. Maybe that is my main goal. For other people, it might mean I just want to be fully in touch with my body. I don't want to think about the topic at all anymore. I just want to be free. And of course, freedom should be the main goal for everyone, regardless of if you just want to say, well, I want to eat more, I want to eat enough for my body, or I just, consider full recovery, never thinking about it again, which just full transparency might not be possible for most people. And I'm not saying that because I'm saying, oh, you're not able to do that. But I think we just live in a world where we're just constantly confronted with that topic. So that's the first part. The second part is also recovery is so incredibly individual. Yes, there are a lot of people that say, oh, you just have to start it and you can go through within a couple of weeks. I personally, honestly, heavily disagree. I think for a few people that might be possible. You just start eating more and you just start facing your fears, and then after a couple of weeks, you're done. I think that's a very, very small minority of people for who that works. For most people, the eating disorder itself is so connected to so many different things. For some people, maybe to trauma, to other mental health disorders, to low self-esteem, or a lot of other things that were buried under the eating disorder and that didn't even have the chance to come up. So for many people, entering eating disorder recovery means to not only face the physical aspect of eating more, working on eating disorder behaviors, coping with weight gain and everything that plays a role here, but to also maybe in the first time forever, or at least in a long time, to take a look at those mental aspects, to take a look at all the emotions that were buried and that are already coming up. Take a look at all the fears, to take a look at everything that might be coming up once you start recovery. And that can just take a long time. I also want to emphasize that even physical recovery doesn't go as quickly as many people think, because just because you gain weight doesn't mean you're physically recovered. Physical recovery has to do with so many different things, from repairing a lot of things: your bone density, your muscle mass, your hormones, your digestive system, your metabolism, and so many more things. In my personal case, I would say my physical recovery took at least 2.5 or 3 years, if not even longer, because there might have been still some things that I didn't realize on the surface, but they were still going on. But the things I can speak on, and that includes, for instance, even rebuilding my muscle mass without working out. That's the body's process of rebuilding good amount of muscle mass that was broken down due to the eating disorder. That alone took at least 2 years. And again, that was without me working out. So it's not like you have to work out again to rebuild muscle mass. You have to fuel your body accordingly. My bone density, even though I was told your bone density doesn't get back to normal if you're older than 25, in my case, that's not true. My bone density took 2.5 years to get back to normal. My hormones were out of whack for nearly 3 years. So there's a lot of things. And then, of course, the things that we want to change the fastest, like my hair, my nails, even my skin, those were the things that came last. So even physical recovery can take a long time for a lot of people. And that is not to discourage anyone, but more to let you know, even if you've been in recovery for 1 or 2 years and you still don't feel normal, or you still feel like something is off, it might be that your body is just still healing and still repairing. The mental part of recovery, on the other hand, same thing here. When we go through, for instance, weight gain, and for a lot of people, of course not for everyone, but for a lot of people, weight gain or bodily changes are very much connected to a big fear of the eating disorder. And so facing that fear in itself doesn't just go away because we gained weight. So what I mean by that is, for instance, I gained a lot more weight than I thought I would. I gained way more weight than I had before my eating disorder, and also than my body is at right now. And I had to come to the point, because that overshoot weight that I had for a long time lasted way longer than I thought. I always heard, well, the overshoot weight goes down within a couple of months, and in my case, it didn't. But my biggest point was actually to not wait for the overshoot weight to go down, but to accept that even if this is my body now, I have to come to terms with it, because I don't want to go back to the eating disorder. And to be honest, I also feel like I can't anymore. That was the state that I was in about like 2 years into eating disorder recovery. I made another video about feeling like you can't go back and why this is not a bad thing. And this is something that a lot of people experience. But at that point, I really had to come to the point where I allowed myself to really think about, okay, but what if this is my body? What if I'm already a person in a bigger body that I was back then? And what does that mean for myself? Do I want to suffer the rest of my life because I just reject to accept myself? Or can I maybe see the possibility of starting to accept myself? And so about 2 years in, I started that process of really beginning to accept myself. And it's not like I didn't do that before, but it was just another phase, because I think before that, I was just constantly waiting for the overshoot weight to go down. So I constantly told myself, well, this is just temporary. I can accept my body now because I know it's going to change, or I hope it's going to change. When then I had to come to the point where I really had to tell myself, well, but what if it's not changing? How can I still live with that? How can I still respect myself? How can I still make good choices for my body and myself? Healthy choices, but not healthy in a way that targets weight loss, but healthy choices for myself. And that was really a big difference. And this is just one part of mental recovery. For me, it was also a lot about coping with the emotions, the depression, the trauma that came up. And some of those topics I'm still working on to this day, but at least I have the chance to work on them because I'm not suppressing them anymore. And I'm not using my eating disorder anymore to cope with them, but I had to learn new coping strategies. And on some days, it's still something that I'm learning, and on other days, it already works incredibly well. And I want to be so honest on here, because no therapist, no coach is perfect. And perfect also doesn't mean to not have any issues. We are all having our topics. We're all going through things. We're all working through things. There's a reason why therapists need to have therapy themselves. There's a reason why many coaches have some kind of supervision or therapy, and that's not a bad thing. In my opinion, that's even a good sign, because it shows that your coach or your therapist is not only taking care of themselves, but they're also practicing what they preach, and that is to look for help, to have someone to work with, and that is never a bad thing. Of course, there are so many more aspects when it comes to the mental part of recovery, and I'm more than happy to make a second part of this video. So please let me know in the comments if you have specific questions as to that, if there's anything that you are asking yourself. And when it comes to timelines, and I know I said it before, but I will say it again, your recovery doesn't have a timeline. And it's frustrating when you see the online perception of recovery and it all looks like so happy and so beautiful, and those people made it through in 1 or 2 years, and now their life seems to be perfect, which, little hint, of course it's not, because nobody's life is perfect. But also, you might be a person where recovery takes longer because the eating disorder had so many reasons to stick around. The eating disorder served a certain purpose, and that doesn't mean that the eating disorder should be around again, but that means that it really gives you the chance to take at the underlying levels. And whatever you need to do, if you want to work with a trauma therapist, with a therapist overall, with a coach, or like most of my clients do, with a combination of all, that is more than fine, and that might be really helpful. But please know that you deserve to heal, and you deserve to continue doing your recovery journey. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.